So far, in first canto of The Rape of the Lock and second one, we have come across the basic understanding of how we have been introduced with the main character Belinda and how she's getting ready for a game of cards. And in between, there is a journey in second canto that they are taking through the river, and they are moving towards this place called Hampton Court, which gets its name from Hampton itself. So this journey takes place now. Canto number 3 focuses on how they have managed to finally reach the destination where this uh, game called Omber will be played. This is a card game again. Card games were the best pastime of 18th century elite class people. They used to play with each other. They used to get together. It was really common for them to get together in such places to network, to talk to each other, to know each other better, and they had to showcase their. They had to, कहते हैं ना कि they had to flex what they understood. In my understanding, these days we are playing Uno, or maybe we know how to play bluff or sweep. We play certain types of games which have specific rules and regulations. Bluff, for example, is all about how you can trick the other person into believing the wrong information that you want to feed them. And this game, Omber, is no different. So the entire Canto 3 is based in a social gathering where this social game called Omber is being played. This specific game is played among three people, and two of them are major characters, Belinda and Baron, and Omber, the solo player, is playing against them. So all three players, they are fighting with each other, and the card deck, the cards that they are using, they have different ranks in it. So basically, this tonality or the setting of the poem starts from here. So I'm going to read certain lines, so specifically first 10 lines, they are important. You'll see that the English being used by a poet over here is not that difficult. It's not that, uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, it's not like John Milton or the Fairy Queen that we have studied. It's quite more intellectually comprehensible for us because it's written in a very simple English, the English that you can simply understand. Another important point that you must recall that I've shared with you, and you should remember that The Rape of the Lock is a mock heroic poem. It is a poem having heroic couplets in it, and you'll see that the entire poem is written in the form of these couplets. These couplets, they have couplets means two lines coming together, having rhythmic pattern, having same length, and talking about one thought. For example, look at the first couplet. Close by those meads, for every crowned with flowers, where Thames with pride surveys his rising towers. So flowers and towers, we have a rhythmic pattern over here, and the two lines, they talk about the meadows. Meads are the meadows, and crowned with flowers, which means it's a garden, it's a meadow full of flowers and greenery, where Thames with pride surveys his rising towers. Thames is a river on which the city of London is located, actually. So they are talking about the water levels of Thames, river Thames, that are flowing under that meadows, and they are beautiful. So the natural imagery is being used to open the entire poem. So we get one couplet over here, and similarly each couplet will have similar kind of rhyming scheme. For example, frame and name, foredom, home, obey, tea, resort, court, past, last, queen, screen. So they are going to use this rhythmic pattern, and each line they will, each two lines, each couplet will share one idea, right? So let's read the first 10 lines because they, 8 to 10 lines, they talk about the similar kind of things. Close by those meads forever crowned with flowers, where Thames with pride surveys his rising towers, there stands a structure of majestic frame, which from the neighboring Hampton takes its name. Here, Britain's statement oft the fall foredom. Foredom means, uh, you know, to tell the future, like to predict or something. Of foreign tyrants and nymphs at home. Nymphs are beautiful women, young women. They are being represented over here. Hear thou, great Anna, whom three realms obey. Now, this is a reference to Queen of England, Queen Anne, and she ruled from 1702 to 1714, and she was ruling three realms, three places, three localities, or three regions for that matter, which included England, Scotland, and Wales. Right? I would like to show you that this information is also given in the footnotes. This is a very good handout. So footnotes, they are telling you about line number and what is being said. For example, we are on line number 7, and I gave you the reference of Queen of England, Queen Anne, Queen of England. So you can read the references from these footnotes yourself as well for better clarification. So, furthermore, hear thou, great Anna, whom three realms obey, dost sometimes counsel take and sometimes tea. So, they are talking about the place that is called the Hampton Court, that takes its name from the Hampton, that is a real place, neighboring place. And they talk about that how important this place is. For example, if you remember in Paradise Lost in book number 1, by the end of book number 1, we were introduced with Pendanomian and how these demons, they were working towards making a great majestic hall for them to scheme and plot and everything. Hampton is no different. Although Hampton is a tiny little beautiful place for men and women to get together to play cards and everything, but Pop being Pop, he's using exaggeration, and he's using the mock heroic tendencies over here to mock that how this place was. This Hampton Court is like a council where they can talk about serious matters, and it's sometimes only there for tea parties. So the opening lines, these 8 lines, they are telling us, they are setting the tonality of the entire poem. The location is being discussed, that is the Hampton. It's a majestic frame, it's a great construction made by these people. Other than that, um, we are also introduced with Queen, whose realm is there, and she's a queen in London, and how London is made up on the River Thames. Now, this building that they are referring is, followed by or surrounded by meadows full of flowers, and it was the one of the very important aspects of 18th century, that people used to come here to Hampton Court to meet each other, and all spheres of people, all types of people would come, all spheres of life and people and working in different capacities would meet each other. They could include, people of importance, money, armies, politicians, people of fashion, royalty, everybody was there. So they are talking about that. So the first 8 lines, they are just a description of Hampton Court, and it also sets the climatic action in the poem. And the description is grand, and it is giving us an understanding that it is almost like the Pendanomian that was being discussed in the first book of Paradise Lost. So, this detailing is again important for us to be able to understand what is going to happen next. Then we have next few lines which will be focusing on again what happens on Hampton Court and what kind of pastimes could be there while playing there. So these few lines that we are going to discuss will give us the description of popular pastimes in Hampton Court, that how people used to come and play in these places. It's a fashionable society. I hope you remember when we had a discussion about the introduction to Rape of the Lock, we also came across how Pop is trying to mock and make fun of this pretense society which is full of fashion, which is full of hypocrisy, which is full of fake banter and networking. Basically, the poem, this the Rape of the Lock, is based on a party, a social party where card game is to be played. So Pop is also not against. He secretly likes these social visits and parties and everything. He understands the beauty of this, uh, you know, um, 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 get together, but he does want to dismantle that problem that has been shared with him. The background behind this poem, as you already know, is based in how there was a friend of Pop who told him about the feud between two aristocratic London families, that how they had a fight, and he wanted to laugh at it. Therefore, he asked, or he requested Pop to write about it so that later on they can talk about it. Now, Pop has another agenda in his mind. He wants to write about these problems so that he can dismantle, or make a fun out of it, so that people are not taking it so seriously. Yes, he's mocking it, but he's not going to use harsh or insulting ways to add fuel to the fire. The problem is already very much problematic. It's conflicting, it is creating a lot of ruckus, it will create a lot of ruckus. So he's making sure that he sets the tone in first three cantos in such a manner that in the later cantos the audience and the readers can just laugh at it, right? The lines are, hither the heroes and the nymphs resort to taste a while pleasures of a court. So all kinds of hither means here, the heroes and nymphs, yani beautiful people, beautiful women, young women, and heroes of war, armies, and all sorts of kings and prince. They come here, they take pleasure of the court. Court is something that they used to come for, for meeting purposes. They were there for courting, which means they were there to find a suitable suit for their suitable match for their wedding or their affairs and etc. So ये जो मीटिंग्स होती थी ये सिर्फ सोशल कॉल्स नहीं थी, इसमें बहुत सारे और एजेंडाज भी होते थे जो कि फुल ऑफ प्रिटेंस हुआ करते थे. Then the next couplet says, in various talk, the instructive hours they passed, who gave the ball or paid the visit last. So they spend a lot of time there, hours have been passed, they instruct each other, they talk about various topics, they talk about nonsensical and funny matters, and they also talk about serious matters, and they actually backbite as well. So they talk about who has thrown the ball. Ball is a ball dance, which means that they used to get together and dance with each other. And again, it is a representation of a certain social society, social status that can be definitely observed, and it is prevalent in these lines. And they also talk about who came, who did not come, and etc. To put it into an actual understanding for you to be able to correlate, when you go on weddings, when you go on birthday parties, or this party or that party, do you think, or do you find people pretending or faking happiness sometimes? Have you ever found yourself observing such a matter where you clearly can see that the person who has joined the party is not happy about it, or even if they are not happy, they are not into it, they are not interested in it, but they have to pretend for the sake of society, for the sake of their family, for the sake of the face saving act. Have you ever observed something like that?
Yes, ma'am.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ वी टॉक अबाउट फ्यूनरल्स, चलें हैप्पी गैदरिंग को छोड़ के फ्यूनरल्स की बात करते हैं. what happens in funerals? In my personal opinion, people who have nothing to do with the dead would pretend to be sad. They actually would cry, they would create a ruckus or a chaos out of it, because it is their role to be played there. They have come for वो जो हम वर्ड यूज़ करते हैं ना, ताज़ियत के लिए आए हैं, गम बांटने के लिए आए हैं, तो उनको फिर अब they have to put up a show. They have to tell the listeners that they care, even though there is a high possibility that they don't care at all. In one of the instances that I would like to show that how it is such a mockery of such a serious, incident. I was at a funeral and I could clearly hear the banter that two people, or maybe multiple women, they were talking about फूड. दे वर इंटरेस्टेड इन फूड कि खाना कब मिलेगा, काफ़ी देर हो गई है. You are there for their sorrow. You're there to be included in their sadness, but all you care about is food. And then when once the food is served, they also talk about the quality of food. That is the hypocrisy of certain level that people could have. And this place, this Hampton Court, is no different. It is about the wise men, and it is about the stupid men as well. It is about the people of money, and it is also about the people who are there for just for the sake of networking and what they can get out of this societal get together. So all in all, what I'm trying to insinuate over here, that this court meeting or this Hampton court where these people would come for parties, they are fake. they are hypocritical, they are dual faced, and their identity is always in crisis. They're always questioning everything around them. Now, one by one, they'll talk about that how certain people they behave differently in different sections of the poem. For example, one speaks the glory of the British Queen, and one describes a charming Indian screen. So one person who's there, one participant, he is all talking about the glorification, or he's glorifying, or that the speaker is glorifying the British Queen, how she has ruled over certain three states that have been mentioned: England, Wales, and Scotland, and etc. And the other one would just simply describe the charming Indian screen. What is Indian screen? It's the partition made of silk from India. So they are talking about everything. They are talking about British Queen, and they are talking about India. They are talking about aristocrats, and they are talking about the common people. They are bantering, they are gossiping, they are indulged in a less fruitful or yet fruitful discussion simultaneously. A third interprets motion, looks, and eyes. At every word of repetition dies. So, what happens? What is happening over here? That, of course, one is talking about British Queen, the other one is focused on Indian screen, and the third one is interpreting or observing the looks and the eyes and the motions of everybody, and they are judging them. For example, when you go on a wedding, you're in a in a get together. Why am I referring to a wedding? Because it's very unlikely for you to actually visit a court, a Hampton court for that matter, because we are reading their culture, so we need to be able to picture something out of it. So what I'm trying to make you picture in your mind is that you might have seen in get-togethers that there are different types of people sitting. Some of them, they come across very intellectual, they speak less, they are looking nice, they have manners and etiquettes. The others could be very loud, laughing, a little careless, and they might not be dressed that well. And then there are certain people who are there with a reason, they have an agenda, and they're very focused. Then there are people who are dressed like as if they are homeless, and they are just there for the food, the free food that they are going to get. For example, I've had my fair share of conferences and seminars to attend in Pakistan specifically, and I've seen that people are only there to be seen. People are only there so that certain people would know their names and their contribution. They have zero interest in academia. उन्हें कंट्रीब्यूशन में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. उन्हें इंटरेस्ट इस बात में है कि लोगों को पता हो कि वो फलाना डॉक्टर है और उसने इतने पेपर पब्लिश कर लिए. तो दैट इज़ द हिपोक्रेसी ऑफ दैट गेट टुगेदर. एंड देन देर आर पीपल हु आर देयर फॉर फ्री कॉफ़ी, फ्री टी, एंड जो भी चीज़ें कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में फ्री मिलती हैं उसको गैदर करने के लिए भी लोग आते हैं. तो हर किस्म का इंसान होता है. एंड हैम्पटन कोर्ट में भी there are different types of people. Some of them are talking about Queen, some of them are focused on Indian screen, some of them are talking about the reputation of certain people, and much more. Then comes snuff or the fan supply each pause of chat with singing, laughing, ogling, all that. So yes, there are men and women, both genders are there. Ogling means to look, to gaze, or to sometimes ogling could be negative, but here ogling is taken in a context where, in a lovingly manner, men and women are looking at each other. They are laughing, they are singing, they are merrymaking, they are chatting, and they are sharing information with each other. In movies, you might have seen that even the uptight female character who is very ambitious, who's always very much intellectually coming across or putting across her decisions, will behave like a child around the मैन दैट शी इज़ इंटरेस्टेड इन. जो हीरोइन होती है वो भी फिर बच्चों जैसा बिहेव कर, लड़कियों जैसा बिहेव करना शुरू कर देती है अपने मनपसंद आदमी के इर्द गिर्द. तो ये जो हिपोक्रेसी होती है, ये जो फ्लक्चुएशन ऑफ फीलिंग्स होती है, इमोशंस होती है, दैट इज़ बीइंग represented of in these lines by Pop, of that hypocritical and elite class society of 18th century. Then the next couplet focuses on the time of the day. It says, meanwhile, declining from the noon of day, the sun oblique shoots his burning rays. So the time is burns is, of course, it's not the actual burning, jalne ka perspective se nahi hai. It means that It's the afternoon, it's the noon of the day, and the sun is at its best, and the behavior of certain people, they are also at its best. So the the female affectations that have been discussed in the previous lines, where snuff and singing and laughing has been mentioned. So the excessive use of snuff and female affectations is being used over here by Pope to talk about the contemporary writings of that day. And secondly, it's another uh, pe- characteristic of exaggerated epic feature, because one of the significant features of an epic is the description of battles. But here the description is not about the forces or the comrades or the battle or the heroes. It's more about the individual characters over here. So the phrases that we see in these lines, they are talking about the we can call it like the fake affectations of females over here. The hungry judges soon the sentence sign, and wretches hang that jurymen dine. So some of them are hungry and they are only interested in dining, and some of them they are interested in looking and they are onlookers. The merchant from the exchange returns in peace. Now the merchant, of course, a person who is a person of market, who has money, who works in stock exchange. So they are there as well. They are also talking about, they are also taking part in this social phenomena. And long labors of the toilet sees Belinda. So the first character is finally introduced in line number 25, right? Belinda, now whom thirst of fame invites, burns to encounter two adventurous knights. So the game will start over here. Belinda, the main female character, has been discussed or mentioned over here, and she is satiated and she wants to play this game of cards, which is called Omba. And two adventurous knights, one of them is Baron and the other one is Omber, the solo player who's going to challenge the rest of them. So all three players, they are going to play. At Omber singingly to decide their doom, and swells her breast with conquests yet to come. So this, swelling of the breast could represent that she is beautiful, of course. And secondly, in first game, at the first game, she actually wins steadily, and therefore she's very happy about it. She's very uh, she's ready for the battle. We have already established that fact. So the game of cards, it is called Omber, and it is described in such a manner that as if it is a battlefield, and it represents the epical qualities as well. So Belinda has challenged two opponents, the two adventurous knights. One of them is Baron, and she wants to trick them. The game is about tricking the other person, and she wants to do that. So she is uh, conquering it, she's winning it. Straight three bands prepare in arms to join, each hand in the number of each sacred nine. Now, I would like to read the description of line 25 to 104, which is already given in the annotation in this handout. You can use it for your understanding. I'll just read it and then we can go back to the text. The game of cards called Omber is described in the way a battle would be described in an epic. Belinda challenges two characters, Baron. At first, Belinda wins steadily. Her opponents, however, retaliate and she begins to lose. At the end, she makes the winning trick and is triumphant. This section ends with Belinda exulting in her victory, ignorant of impending disaster that awaits her. It is suggested throughout the game of cards that Belinda is eager to show her superiority and win the game. She attaches far too much importance to her victory. You must have heard about that, proverb, pride goes before a fall. This applies to Belinda over here, for her triumph at cards is closely followed by her disgrace shortly afterwards. In the battle of cards between Belinda and the Baron, she wins the first round only to feel comforted at the end when Baron cuts off or snips a lock of her hair. So these lines, line number from 25 to 104, is a long exaggerated description of everything that happens in between. Now, of course, when women are, playing with men, they have certain, ways and affections to behave in a certain way. आपने देखा होगा कि जब लड़के लड़कियां आपस में बात करते हैं, men and women of certain age, उनमें एक आपको एक अननेसेसरी नज़ाकत और एक अननेसेसरी डिस्कम्फर्ट, यस, येट अफेक्शन नज़र आती है. वही ही हा हा करके दे टॉक टू ईच अदर. So that is being discussed over here, that how these characters, they are behaving that way. अच्छा, ओम्बर खेलना बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग है, but I cannot teach you. I can just tell you about what is happening here in this context. We have three players. We have Belinda, Baron, and Omber, who's the third player, who's going to attack the other ones. Okay, and the cards used in Omber, they have different ranks and they have different designations as well. Now, why would Pop use this? Because 18th century was a hypocritical society. It was a social society, and the cards, they represents in a simple deck of cards we have 1 to 10, यानी 1 से 10 नंबर होते हैं हमारे पास. उसके बाद बेटे आता है जैक, क्वीन, किंग एंड एस. ठीक है. जैक इज लाइक द जैकल ऑफ हार्ट्स, उसको जैकल भी कहते हैं. क्वीन, क्वीन ऑफ हार्ट्स भी होती है, कि क्वीन ऑफ स्पेड्स भी होती है, यानी इसमें 4 सिंबल्स होते हैं. और किंग होता है. अब किंग से भी जो बड़ा डेजिग्नेशन है वो एस है. ठीक है. यूजली व्हाट हैपेंस दैट क्वीन इज प्रोटेक्टेड बाय द किंग, बट किंग कैन बी ओवर रूल्ड विद द एस ऑफ स्पेड्स. यानी जिसे हुक्म का इक्का नहीं कहते हैं, मूवीज में सुना होगा, वो हुक्म का हिक्का जो है वो किंग्स को भी सरपास कर सकता है. सो ये जो सारे करेक्टर्स हैं जो हमारे कार्ड्स में हैं, दे आर बीइंग एग्जैजरेटेड and they are being compared with the armed men of battles, how they get ready. Of course, in armies, in battles, in wars, we have different designations as well. We have soldiers, we have commanders in chief, we have um, um, और भी बहुत सारी इसमें आपको डेजिग्नेशंस मिल सकती हैं. सोल्जर्स होंगे, फुट सोल्जर्स होंगे, कमांडोज होंगे, रेंजर्स होंगे, हमारे पास चीफ ऑफ कमांड होगा, कुछ प्लेयर्स होंगे. तो वो सारी जो चीज़ें हैं वो सब कुछ वो कार्ड्स के थ्रू इसमें बताने की कोशिश करता है. हु पॉप ट्राइज टू यूज दिस कार्ड गेम टू टॉक अबाउट इट. नाउ द पॉइंट इज नॉट अबाउट द रूल्स ऑफ द गेम. हमें रूल्स नहीं समझने हैं. व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इज दैट पॉप हैज़ यूटिलाइज्ड दिस गेम और इनकॉर्पोरेटेड दिस कार्ड गेम so that the poet, yani Pope, can mock the high society, and he has tried to achieve that goal by, you know, inserting a card game that sounds like an epic battle. वो उसको battle की तरह लेके चलता है. ठीक है. आगे देखें अगली जो lines हैं, they are also very much important. We are going to get to be introduced with what is happening with the rest of them. Soon as she spreads her hand, the aerial guard descend and sit on each important card. So जैसे ही कार्ड्स खेलने का एक तरीका होता है. एरियल गार्ड इज द साइल्फ्स. साइल्फ्स कौन है? जो उसके प्रोटेक्टर हैं. किसके? बेलिंडा के. सो जैसे ही वो गेम खेलना स्टार्ट करती है तो उसके प्रोटेक्टर उसको उसके पास आ जाते हैं. फर्स्ट एरियल पर्च्ड अपॉन द मैटाडोर, देन ईच अकॉर्डिंग टू द रैंक दे बो. So by each rank, like I told you, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace, they come in a certain fashion. So they are talking about how each matador is the three highest cards in the Omber game. ठीक है. तो वो कैसे sequence में आते हैं. For example, let's give them a number 11, 12, and 13. So 11, 12, and 13, they are coming in a series, and they are according to the rank they are coming there. For Sylphs, yet mindful of their ancient race, are as when women wanderers found fond of place. So Sylph, the protectors, they are still very much mindful. They are still very much interested in protecting the woman that they are with, and they know that in ancient history, in the ancient world, this has already happened. And the Sylphs, they are there to fulfill their duty to protect Belinda, right? They are very much interested and they know what they are there for. And we can take this as the gods in the epic poetry, because they sit अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर रैंक्स एज वेल। जैसे ये कार्ड्स रैंक में आते हैं, तो गॉड्स भी, जो डिफरेंट गॉड्स होते हैं मिथोलॉजी में, वो भी उनके रैंक्स के मुताबिक आते हैं। वी कैन टॉक अबाउट दैट हियर, वी कैन टेक दैट रेफरेंस ओवर हियर। सो दिस इज बीइंग पैरोडीड, विच मीन्स दिस इज बीइंग मॉक्ड एट, कि जैसे कार्ड्स अपनी रैंक के मुताबिक आते हैं, इसी तरह से जो हमारे पास ये किंग्स एंड क्वींस हैं, ये भी इसी क्या कहना चाहिए, सीक्वेंस में आते हैं। और एपिक में, बैटल्स में भी, सेलेस्टियल बैटल्स में भी, जैसे हमारे पास एंजल्स और डीमंस थे, वो भी रैंक्स में आते हैं। सो दिस इज एन आयरॉनिक रेफरेंस to that is being made to women, which are very much hyper and सेल्फ बोस्टिंग ऑफ देयर पोजिशनैलिटी इन द सोसाइटी। कुछ खवातीन होती है ना, वो अपने आप को बहुत समझती है, और बेलिंडा हमारा जो करेक्टर है वो है ही ऐसी। वो अपने आप को, शी इज़ वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ हर सेल्फ एंड शी कंसिडर्स हर सेल्फ टू बी वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट, और ये उसको उसकी डाउनफॉल की तरफ भी ले जा सकता है। Behold, four kings in majesty revered, with hoary whiskers and forky beard, and four fair queens whose hands sustain a flower, the expressive emblem of their softer power, four knaves of garb cinched a thirsty band, caps on their heads and halberds in their hand. अच्छा, अब ये किन की बात हो रही है? दीज आर दी अगेन क्वींस, हमारे कार्ड्स हैं, मैंने आपको बताया क्वींस भी होते हैं हमारे पास और नेव्स भी होते हैं। सो यहाँ पर उनका रेफरेंस दिया जा रहा है। Garb sessions means clothes tied at the waist with the belt, which is again could be an example of inversion. Halberds are the weapon shaped like an axe, ठीक है। halberds जो यहाँ पर mentioned है वो axe के तरह के रेफरेंसेस हैं। तो ये जो कार्ड्स हैं, ये एक दूसरे के ऊपर अपनी रैंक के मुताबिक आते हैं। सोसाइटी में भी ऐसा ही होता है। पीपल बिहेव और react and act according to their position in the society. And if we talk about the epic battles and such places, of course the epic hero is there. और यहाँ पर हमारी जो बेलिंडा है, she considers herself to be the center of the attention, and epic hero जो होता है वो usually अपने जो रिव्यूज होते हैं उसको फोर्स करने की कोशिश करता है ऑन टू द पीपल। सो बेलिंडा लाइकवाइज is surveying her cards before play begins. Now, there is an accurate description of actual pictures of playing cards. This is a good example of Pope's powers of observation and careful attention to detail, where he talks about how these knaves and queens, they come according to their position in a deck of cards. An empty colored troops, a shining train, drawn forth to combat on the velvet plain. The skilful nymph reviews her force with care. Let spades be trumps, she said, and trumps they were. So again, they are talking about how these troops, what are these troops? यूजुअली बैटलफील्ड में हमारे पास सोल्जर्स होते हैं, यहाँ पर हमारे पास जो ट्रूप्स हैं वो कार्ड्स हैं। सो दिस स्किलफुल निम्फ इज अ रेफरेंस टू बेलिंडा herself. So she is taking a very good, a deep look into her cards, and she is being parodied over here. This is the opening line of parody, where of course she is taking herself too seriously. ठीक है, वो अपने आप को बहुत ही सीरियसली समझ रही है, और वो उस गेम्स को सिग्निफिकेंटली एक इवेंट में जीतने की कोशिश करती है। शी प्लेज विद फोर्स एंड केयर। लेट स्पेस बी ट्रम्प्स, शी सेड, एंड ट्रम्प्स दे वर। सो शी वन, यानी उसकी जो आखिरी चाल है गेम वन की, राउंड वन की, उसमें वो जीत जाती है। नाउ मूव टू द वॉर हर स्टेबल मैटाडोर्स इन शोन लाइक लीडर्स ऑफ द स्वार्थी मोर्स। मैटाडोर्स, लाइक आई टोल्ड यू, ये वो कार्ड्स की जो रैंकिंग होती है, 3 हाईएस्ट कार्ड्स जो होते हैं। और सेबल मैटाडोर्स, दिस इज अ डार्क कलर्ड कार्ड ऑफ स्पेड्स विच इज द ट्रम्प। ट्रम्प कार्ड कहते हैं यानी हुक्म का इक्का, उसकी यहाँ पर बात हो रही है। Spadillo, first unconquerable lord, led off two captive trumps and swept the board. Spadillo means ace of spades, and Manilo means two spades of। अब ये जो आपको ये चार लाइनें हैं, they go hand in hand. How? Spadillo first and Manilo first. Spadillo is ace of spades and Manillo is of spades. तो they are coming 101, यानी वो एक दूसरे के बाद आ रहे हैं एंड ट्रम्प्स एंड बोर्ड को पूरा खाली करते हुए जा रहे हैं. Him Basto followed, but his fate more hard, gained but one trump and one Philibin card. Basto is ace of clubs, third highest card in Omber, and Philibin card is ordinary card that has no special value in the Omber. Okay, so they are talking about how Basto came and fate was more hardened there, and it gained one trump and one plebeian card. Yani she got another card, a plebeian card that had no value attached to it. With this board saber next, a chief in years, the hoary majesty of spades appears. Puts forth one manly leg on sight revealed, the rest his money colored robe concealed. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर अब ये जो रेफरेंस है, एज यू कैन सी दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ यू नो क्वीन ऑफ स्पेड्स एंड मेजेस्टी स्पेड्स इट्स अकरिंग. अच्छा, यहाँ पर जो कुछ लाइंस हैं, ये सारी लाइंस दे आर सिंपली टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ डिफरेंट कार्ड्स आर कमिंग एंड गोइंग एंड playing their part in the game of Omber, and they are being treated like the वॉरियर्स ऑफ बैटल. यानी एपिक बैटल में, एपिक वॉर्स में हमारे पास क्या होता है, सोल्जर्स अपना अपना काम करते हैं. ठीक है, एक फ्रंट रनर होता है, एक बैक फुट पे होता है, एक साइड फुट पे होता है. वो सारों की बात हो रही कि कौन अपनी जगह पर किस तरह से फिट होकर अपना काम यहाँ पर कर रहा है. देन the rebel knave who dares his prince engage proves the just victim of his royal rage. Rebel knave is another reference to a card who dares his prince engage, where the prince engages, Baron engages, and he bestowed or reveals his rage, the royal rage, because he comes from Baron is from aristocratic family, so उसका जो royal rage है, उसका rage आम rage नहीं है, royal rage है. Even Mighty Pam, now Pam is knave of clubs with no special value in Umber. So even Mighty Pam that kings and queens overthrew and mowed down armies in the flights of Lu. Lu is a card game in which the knave of clubs was the highest card. ठीक है, अब देखिए एक कार्ड जो एक गेम में उसकी हाईएस्ट वैल्यू है, उसकी ऑम्बर में कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. एंड सोसाइटी में भी ऐसा ही होता है, एपिक बैटल्स में भी ऐसा ही होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल पैराडाइज लॉस्ट में जब हमने देखा कि व्हाट हैपेंस टू द डीमंस एंड हाउ दे वर फॉलन फ्रॉम द ग्रेस ऑफ गॉड, तो उनकी जो पोजिशनैलिटी और जो डेजिग्नेशन है वो भी कम हो जाती है. ठीक है, अपनी दुनिया में हेल में सैटर्न जो है वो प्रिंस ऑफ हेल है, लेकिन ईडन या हेवन में ही हैज़ a tiny or a mere existence of serpent who can only whisper. तो different games में, different scenarios में, different places में, different people could have different designations and importances, just like these cards के इनकी cards में जो different वैल्यू इनके साथ अटैच्ड है वो डिफरेंट हो सकती है. और सोसाइटी की अगर बात करें, 18th century सोसाइटी, इफ़ यू टॉक अबाउट 18th century सोसाइटी, इट वाज जस्ट लाइक दैट. Right now, Baron and Belinda and such families, they were, ravished or lavishly celebrated, and they were glorified. And the rest of them who were there with no money or less connections, they were not glorified that way. So, depending on your positionality, your status in the society, you will be dealt with. Just like the Spadillo, the Manillo, the Spades, and all those cards that have been mentioned over here. Okay. Sad chance of war, now destitute of aid, falls undistinguished by the victor's spade. So, Ace of Spade is a victorious card. It has killed everybody, every knave, every other, Manilo card or Stabilo card that is there in the deck of cards and in this game of Omber. Thus far, both armies of Belinda yield. Now the barren fate inclines द फील्ड. ठीक है, अब क्या हुआ है कि बेलिंडा का जो फेट है वो सील हो गया है. हर फेट हैज़ बिन सील्ड एंड शी हैज़ वन. नाउ वी मूव फॉरवर्ड टू Baron, that is the other character, and his fate that inclines the field. His warlike Amazon her host invades, the imperial consort of the crown of spades. Again, imperial जो अच्छा वॉर लाइक अमेजोन का मतलब है फीमेल वॉरियर द क्वीन ऑफ स्पेड्स. ठीक है. और the imperial consort over could represent that how imperialism is being represented over here. And crown of spades यानी कैसे उसने crown पहना हुआ. The club's black tyrant first her victim died. So हमारे पास multiple cards हैं यहाँ पे. The first one is crown of spades, then we have the club and how it killed the other one, how it died the victim in a certain color. ठीक है. So वो उसकी यहाँ पर बात कर रहे हैं. और ये डाइट जो है ये कलर वाला डाइट नहीं है. इट सिंपली मीन्स द डेथ वाला डाइट. इट्स द ओल्डर स्पेलिंग ऑफ द डाई, द वर्ड डाई. Spite of the haughty mien and the barbarous pride, what boots the regal circle on his head? His joint limb, instead unwidely spread, that long behind he trades his pompous robe, and of all monarchs only grasps of globe. So he's talking about that this particular card, this particular character stands out among the rest of the globe, among all the monarchs, among all the giant limbs, and it is circling its head around the barbarous pride. It is able to have that spite among all of these major characters. The Baron now, his diamonds pose a space, the embroidered king who shows but half of his face. Usually on the cards, not usually, mostly, and actually, the cards, the kings and queens, they are given the side pose. ऐसा नहीं होता कि उनकी जो उनका फ्रंट पोज नहीं दिखाया जाता. कार्ड्स में साइड पोज दिखाया जाता है. सो हाफ ऑफ फेस इज बीइंग शोन इन द डायमंड्स दैट द बैरन हैज poured. एम्ब्रॉयडर्ड मतलब सजा सवरा किंग होता है. मैं आपको अभी कार्ड्स भी दिखाऊंगी तो यू विल अंडरस्टैंड हाउ डज दैट टेक प्लेस. एंड दिस रिग्रेटफुल or this refulgent queen with powers combined of broken troops and easy conquest fine. So this queen is a reference to, as we already know, a reference to Belinda, and with powers combined of broken troops and easy conquest find. So she finds a conquest over here. Clubs, diamonds, and hearts in wild disorder seen, with throngs promiscuous strew the level green. So clubs, diamonds, and hearts, different kinds of people, different warriors in the epic battles, different characters in the society are being depicted over here with each other to showcase that the disorder is seen. Now, clubs, diamonds, and hearts, all of them, they are dying, they are coming into one place because of the ace. Okay, because the ace has more power as compared to the other one. So the trick is being played over here. Thus, when dispersed, a routed army runs of Asia's troops, the African sable sons, with like confusion, different nations fly of various habits and various dye. The purest battalions disunited fall in heaps of heaps, one fate overwhelms them all. So they are talking about that, be it the troops of Africa or Asia, they are all going towards their destination. They are in confusion, they are dying, they have battalions. Either they are united or disunited. Heaps of heaps, and their fates are being written. Same goes for epic battles. When epic battles are being fought, epic characters, they go through epic places as well, and they go through supernatural phenomena. They go through such deep and dire confusions, just like these players of the game of card game Omba, that their hearts, clubs, and diamonds, they are fighting each other in the name of survival. So this is a trick, like how crisis, this could also represent the political crisis, and how political crisis is usually won in the end. जब भी कोई problem होती है तो 11th hour में भी इंसान जीत सकता है. So in heaps of heaps, one fate overwhelms them all. Again, ये भी जो description है, next description is also based on, it is also going to focus on the pun, the trick, the description of ritual, how coffee is served, how the game is played, and it will also give a reference to the parody of Dryden Aeneid, in which he talks about that just in fate and just in jaws of hell occurs. ये सारी चीजें इसमें यहाँ पर मेंशन की जाएंगी. ठीक है, let's read. The knave of diamonds tries his willy arts and wins the queen of hearts. अब नेव ऑफ डायमंड्स यानी इस कार्ड के पास जो पावर है वो क्वीन ऑफ हार्ट्स को जीत लेता है. एट दिस द ब्लड द वर्जन चीक forsook, a livid paleness spreads over all her looks. She sees and trembles in the approaching ill, just in the jaws of ruin and कोडिल. ठीक है, अब ये जो रेफरेंस है कोडिल का, this is a reference, a defeat of the challenger in Umber, in this case of Belinda. Belinda जो है यहाँ पर, she's trembling and she is failed because her queen of hearts has been naved by the diamonds of Willy arts. So her, अब देखिए word कौन सा use हो रहा है, blood of virgin cheeks forsook, which means that she has been overpowered by this Codile. She has become the character of Codile, the defeated player in the game, and the trick has been played on her. And she sees and trembles at the approaching ill. She knows that she has been defeated, and she's trembling just in the jaws of ruin and Codile. And now, on one nice trick depends the general fate. Now, the next point in the game depends on one general trick, a pun or a word. A clever move is required over here for the general fate to be sealed. An ace of hearts steps forth, the king unseen, lurking in the hand and mourned of his captive queen. Okay. Now, what has happened that Belinda has lost the game and she has been captivated by the unseen king, Ace of Hearts. He springs to vengeance with an eager pace and falls like thunder on the prostrate Ace. The nymph exulting fills with shouts the sky, the walls, the woods, and long canals reply. So he springs, he comes with power, he swings with the power, and he overtakes the queen, he captivates the queen, and the nymph, that is the queen herself, that is Belinda herself, she shouts so loudly, and she shouts in such a manner that the walls, woods, and long canals, the echoing of the voice can come back. It's the canals reply means कि जो वो चीख मारती है, जो ऊंचा वो बोलती है, वो सारी आवाजें गूंजती हुई वापस आती हैं. O thoughtless mortals, ever blind to fate, too soon dejected and too soon elate, sudden these honors shall be snatched, and cursed forever the victorious day. Now, in these lines, we can clearly see that there is a description of a ritual that they are talking about. For lo, the board of cups and spoon is crowned, the berries crackle and the mill turns round. So they are talking about the tea party now. अब उनको चाय मिलने वाली है. So this ritual of serving coffee is like the ritual of epic battles where these governors of or the chief of armies, they talk to each other about the scheming and plotting. So this description can also be from the hearty feasts that occur in Homer's epic. होमर की और वर्जिल की जो एपिक्स हैं उसमें भी इस तरह के बहुत सारे फीस्ट्स हुआ करते थे जो कि सीरियस नेचर के हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पर ये सीरियस नेचर के नहीं है. यहाँ पर हमारे करेक्टर एक दूसरे के साथ कार्ड्स खेल रहे हैं और एक करेक्टर कार्ड्स हार गया है और अब जो है वो चाय पीने लगे हैं और वो उसके लिए तैयार हो रहे हैं. जैसे मैं बैटल में गई हूँ, मुझे किसी ने तलवार का एक कोना मार दिया तो मैं उस पर पट्टी बांध रही हूँ और अगले अटैक के लिए तैयार हो रही हूँ. सो उस एग्जैजरेशन को, फॉर कंसीटेडनेस को यहाँ पर यूज किया जा रहा है. Then, on shining altars of Japan they raise the silver lamp and the fairy spirits ablaze. अब जापान का जिक्र यहाँ पर क्यों हो रहा है, right? Now, shining altars of Japan, these are the tables from Japan. Coffee tables, they are being exaggerated over here. They are grand and they are described in such a manner. Now, each activity that is taking place in this Hampton Court at the moment is like a ritual which is well thought. For example, the first ritual was to play. The second was to serve the coffee on these tables, these Japanese tables, and they are like the altars of worship. Altar क्या होता है? जहाँ पर हम कुर्बानी करते हैं, जहाँ पर हम sacrifices करते हैं. So this table, this Japanese table, is being compared metaphorically to the altar. From silver sprouts of graceful liquors guide, while China's earth receives the smoking tide. And then these lines, they are also very important. ठीक है, यहाँ पर चाइना का जो सिल्वर है, यानी चाइना यूजुअली हैज़ ब्यूटीफुल कटलरी, ब्यूटीफुल बर्तनों की बात हो रही है, दैट हाउ लिकर, चाइना कप्स की बात हो रही है. मूवीज़ में आपने देखा होगा, इंग्लिश मूवीज़ में स्पेसिफिकली, हाउ पुअर क्लास फैमिलीज दे विल ओनली take out their China's cutlery, cups and plates and spoons when certain people are there to impress upon them. So they are talking about the liquor, they are talking about the cups and the tea and liquor in it. At once they gratify their scent and taste, and frequent cups prolong the rice repast, which means that they gratify matlab they uh, make it pompous, they make it more make it look like something that is magnificent. So their taste and their scent is being smelled and tasted by the people, and they're enjoying. Straight hover round the fair her airy brand, some as she sipped the fuming liquor fanned. अगर इन चार लाइन्स को हम इकट्ठा पढ़ें, बल्कि इन 6 लाइन्स को इकट्ठा पढ़ें, you'll see that it is being represented as if a ritual is being taken place, that the table is set in a manner, then cups are given, there is liquor in it, there is tea in it, and they are sipping it. यानी वो अपने रिचुअल को पूरा कर रहे हैं. गेम एक हारने के बाद चाय ले रहे हैं, पी रहे हैं, रख रहे हैं, और वो पूरा एक सीक्वल को कंप्लीट कर रहे हैं. Some over her laps, their careful plumes displayed, trembling and conscious of the rich brocade, coffee and see through all wings, half shut eyes, sent up in vapors to the baron's brain. ठीक है, now this is the again ये सारी description again कैसे चाय, कॉफ़ी और liquor को सर्व किया जा रहा है. New stratagems, the radiant lock to gain. Ah, seize, rash youth, desire ere 'tis too late. Fear the just gods and think of Sile's fate, changed to a bird sent to flint in air. She dearly pays to Nice's injured hair, that when to mischief mortals bend their will. This is a reference. Footnotes में it's mentioned. I would like to read it for you between line 121 to 124. You can read it from here. As you can see, the story of Nisus and Cecilia is found in Ovid, Roman author of 1st century Metamorphoses. Nisus had a purple hair on which depends the safety of his kingdom. Celia, his daughters fell in love with Minos, his father's enemy. Celia plucked out his hair and betrayed Nisus, who was defeated. As punishment for her treachery, she was changed into a bird. In mock heroic manner, the Baron is warned not to meddle with Belinda's hair, for which he might be severely punished. Now, going back to these lines, अब वो पूरी तरह से तैयार है. He wants to actually attack. He wants to take the hair, and he has been already warned. If he does this, he will be punished badly. He will go through bad things. और ये एक allusion है, एक दूसरे काम को रेफर कर दिया गया है, जो मैंने आपको यहाँ से बता दिया है. The story of Nisus and Celia. ठीक है. Now the next lines, they are very important. Now soon they find fit instruments of ill. Finally, they have found instruments that are ill. Now, what happens over here? What is going to happen over here is that already हमने देख लिया that the preparation of coffee and everything has been described. Great delicacy and beauty of the ceremony are already highlighted, and tables and liquor has been talked about. The stove and the silver cups of china, fine china, have been discussed. Now it is time where Baron will make his final choice and plan to actually take out the lock of hair from Belinda's head as she bends over to take a sip of her coffee. वो पीने लगेगी, तो तब वो अपना एक्शन यहाँ पर enact karna chahta hai. Now these lines between 125 to 130, they are important. What's happening in these lines? We have another character, Clarissa. She's a female acquaintance or वही बात है networking के लिए आई है, and she's familiar with Baron. And what she does, she tries to guide or tell Baron not to do what he intends to do. So what Pop is doing, he wants to utilize Clarissa's character, a woman's character, to tell the man what to do and what not to do. How soon they find fit instruments of ill, just then Clarissa drew with tempting grace a two-edged weapon from her shining case. So ladies in romance assist their knight, right? So Clarissa is being used as a weapon over here because she takes out two-edged weapon, which is a reference to a scissor, as you can clearly understand over here. And Pope has used Clarissa as a character over here who has provided a female character who has provided the edge, the weapon for him to cut the lock of the hair. Because ladies in romance, they are always there to assist their knight. Present the spare and arm his for the fight, he takes the gift with reverence and extends the little engine on his fingers' ends. So what does he do? He takes it and he now wants to do the deed. He now wants to take the action into place. Action क्या है? जो important action हमें यहाँ पता होना चाहिए, that he wants to cut the hair lock of the woman that he is so mesmerized with. This just behind Belinda's neck he spared, as over the fragrant steam she bends her head. Swift to the lock, a thousand spirits repair, a thousand wings by run turns blow back in the hair. अब इसकी जो डिस्क्रिप्शन यहाँ पर लिखी हुई है थाउजेंड की, अगर हम उसकी बात करें फ्रॉम द आउटलाइन दैट इज गिवन ओवर हियर, if you go to these lines you'll see. Now what happens? Baron approaches Belinda, who's sipping her coffee. The sylphs surround Belinda's hair in an effort to prevent the loss. They try to warn her of the danger, but she does not seem to notice Baron. Ariel, the chief among them, he is disheartened because he has sensed that she does have feelings or thoughts, or she has become impure and she has a tendency towards Baron. So he takes a step back. He realizes that she is favorably inclined towards male lover. He no longer has the power to protect her. ठीक है, इन्हीं इन्हीं लाइंस की जो एक्सप्लेनेशन आपको यहाँ मिलेगी. आप देख रहे हैं कि मैंने आपको पहले डिस्क्रिप्शन बताई है, उसके बाद यहाँ पर एनालिसिस है. Ariel withdraws his protection from Belinda. Pope has explained in this didactory letter to his poem that the Sphinx would guard any woman on condition that she does not have any earthly lover and remains chaste. In the epic, guardian deities too withdraw their assistance at crucial moments, as for example, Apollo leaves the hero in Homer Iliad. अब अगेन होमर के एक काम को रेफर किया गया एलाइड, जब तक वो नहीं पता होगा हमें समझ नहीं आएगी. इवन गॉडेसेस के साथ उनके प्रोटेक्टर्स होते थे, और अगर गॉडेसेस अपनी मर्जी से किसी के साथ जाने में इंटरेस्टेड हैं तो उनके प्रोटेक्टर्स ऑटोमेटिकली दे विल टेक अ स्टेप बैक, एंड दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग ओवर हियर एज वेल. उसके बाद thrice she looked back and thrice knew near. Just in that instant anxious Ariel sought the close recess of the virgin thought. अब देखिए वो एरियल को पता चल गया that she is no longer very much pure. Her virgin thoughts have been corrupted by the thoughts of a man and she's interested in Baron. As on the nosegay in her breast reclined, he watched the ideas rising in her mind. Suddenly he viewed, in spite of all her art, an earthly lover lurking at her heart. So this description is again about the same description and analysis that I've read for you, where Ariel has sensed that Belinda has some feelings and she's reciprocating those feelings towards Baron, and he can see that there is an earthly lover now. Amazed, confused, he found his power expired, resigned to fate, and with his sigh retired. So he left. He was not happy, he was confused and amazed, and his will to exercise his power to protect Belinda did not exist anymore, and he retired from the scene. The pier now spreads the glittering forefects wide. The enclosed lock now joins to divide. Now the deed has been done. Now finally, the deed of cutting the lock has been done. Even then, before the fatal engine closed, a wretched self too fondly interposed. Fate urged the shears um, and the cut the siles in twain. But airy substance soon unites again. The meeting points the sacred haired deserver from the fair head forever and forever. The flesh, the living lightning from her eyes, and screams of horror rendered the afferent sky. Not louder shrieks of pitying heaven are cast, when husbands of when lap dogs beat their last, of when rich china vessels fall from the high, in glittering dust and painting fragments lie. So look at the exaggeration and the words that the poet has used in order to showcase that the deed has been done, the cutting of the hair has been done, and there are shrieks and loud horrifying voices being heard. Now the description is, now deed is done. He has cut the lock. Belinda reaction is described as one of the mixed of anger and sorrow. Loud cries are heard, and despair is also being shown. Mourns of and losses are being discussed. और अगर हम explanation पे चलें, now China vessel बल्कि यहाँ से करते हैं. The repetition emphasizes the hair unlike the selves cannot be rejoined, an echo of many similar passages in epic poetry. Now note that the effective use of anticlimax to make a moral comment has been used over here. The loss of a favorite pet dog or a husband or a delicate ornamental vase are treated as masters of equal importance. Besides the ironic humor of the passage, that is the part of Pop's serious comment on the fashionable society of that time, that they have confused values. The lack of discrimination between serious and trivial is stressed again. So, all in all, what is happening in these lines, that the poet has used a very non-serious scenario to showcase a very hypocritical scenario of the society. Now, China vessel, this image has been used by Pope in Canto 2 as well. It has been associated with Diana's law or women's honor, and the same suggestion underlines the reference here. Though Belinda has only lost a lock of hair, the implication is that the society where appearances are more important as compared to reality, therefore she has lost her virginity. She has lost her actual virtue. She has become a laughing stock. She has become a source of embarrassment now because of chastity has been impaired. So Pop seems to feel that though Belinda overreacts to the loss of her hair, there is some justification for her dismay because the society expects her to behave that way, because the society wants her to behave that way. So all in all, that is being discussed in Canto number 3. I hope it's quite clear in your mind. Now you have some time